USA, 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 yeah. And good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet. I am your Sensei Al Bob, your griot, the storyteller. Let me start off with saying, don't believe anything I say. I'm here to start a conversation, a live chat, as it were. And today's subject is redemption, forgiveness. You know, today's seeming Christians, at least in America, are about castigation, about condemning. You know, what was Jesus? What would Jesus say about what's going on today? Someone once asked Jesus, "So, what do you believe?" And he believes the only way to go to heaven is to forgive your brother, invite the stranger into your house, and give everything away. Judas Iscariot, he kept the crew's possessions. Jesus and the others gave everything to Judas, and Judas bought, paid the bills, you know, took care of, you know, everything. So, the really interesting thing about Judas, he was Jesus's best friend, right? He was there since childhood. He saw Jesus as a little boy bring dead animals back to life. They've just, well, not just, but in the last 30 years, uncovered the writings of Judas, right? And Jesus said, listen, you got to do this really terrible thing that people are going to hate you for. You know, Unless you give me up, things that have been foretold won't happen. So Judas had to give, he had to serve love's co-creation by allowing himself to be, the worst villain of humanity in the last 2,000 years. And my new novel, Black Widow Hot Pants. Um, that's like the working title. It's more like Moral Majority, something, something, something. Black Widow Hot Pants. And it's a thriller, and it's about and Jesus and Judas are characters in it, and they basically you see them. Well, you have to read it, and it'll be on xratted.blogspot.com. That's xratted.blogspot.com, and if you go there now, you'll read other what I call cuts, sections of other novels that I've written. This one's going to be a good half of the first novel of a series of five, right? So I'm writing these things because, that's what I got out in the woods to do. I got a lot of books to read that kind of twig my mind, and I'm just reading. I've been reading all of the scriptures that I have, um, you know, the Old and New Testament, the Bhagavad Gita, you know, you name it, I'm reading it, and it's twigging storylines in my head. So that's what I'm doing. I'm writing storylines. Story of Job. Problem with a beard is you get one of those little hairs up in my throat. can't quite get it. Hey, Aaron. Good to see you, buddy. And today's subject is about, mm, here we go, forgiveness. I had a hair caught in my throat there. And my beard is kind of taking over. I'm just letting it go. I'm going to see how big, if it'll be like an afro of my face. But forgiveness is the number one thing. We have to forgive. The first thing we need to forgive is ourselves. Then we have to forgive all the people that are close to us. And we have to let go of all those things that stick us. And because we're coming up to, oh, you know, one of the great things about Donald Trump is he is right in front of us, uh, giving an amazing. I mean, somebody who's got to bring Shakespeare back and write a play about him. If you read, the story of Richard, or you know, something dark is happening in Denmark. You know, yeah, I got that ZZ Top beard going on. Yep, and I love the fact that ZZ Top was in that TV show Bones, the girl who was married to the really rich guy who was the artist and could make images of whoever you were from just the bones. Her daddy was ZZ Top. Arr. So, thanks for the thumbs up. Keep them coming. So, what are your takes on forgiveness? And what's the other word I put in the title? Um, you know, um, I think the major thing, we don't have to keep Jesus. Would Jesus keep, children cages? Would Jesus, force pregnant mothers to sleep on the street of Juarez? Hey, Robinson. Would Jesus, give $1 trillion tax break to the uber rich while the homeless go hungry? Cutting. When I first got food stamps, I used to get $190. They've cut it down to 45. So, and the folks in my social office, they really try and be nice. They don't treat the people like criminals, where other social entities, larger cities do. And if you look at our social problems, and probably the worst president within the dynamic of this has been Bill Clinton. I mean, he passed laws that put more people in jail than any other president. He made wealth. He got rid of welfare, you know, and he stuck, you know, oh, what was commonly known as welfare mothers now in a position where they have to work for Walmart's jobs to get, virtually everybody works in Walmart's because Walmart's doesn't give you 40 hours worth of work. Everyone who works in Walmart's, not everyone, but majority of people who work in Walmart's are under poverty level, you know. And after they passed that um, $1 trillion tax break for the uber rich, Lindsay, what's his name, and Kentucky, Moscow Mitch, both said, I mean, within hours, this is going to be a real deficit thing on our country, so we're going to have to look at get rid of those entitlements like Social Security. Well, Social Security isn't an entitlement, we paid into it, Medicare isn't an entitlement, we paid into it. You know, we have the best legislators money can buy. That's why Donald is. Donald is. He's not any worse than any of those other pinheads in all the legislatures of our country. We have the best legislators money can buy. You know, and you look at every empire, and at the end of every empire, the plutocratic rich basically start hollowing out the government. Taking everything with them, and the wars that we've had in the last 2 decades. Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and the hundreds of others that are in Africa, all over the place. And unless you really dig deep, you don't even see they're going on. But they are hollowing us out. It's just like Rome. Why did Rome collapse? Because it just pushed its empire further and further and further out by making the army bigger and bigger. And then it just collapsed. And look at Egypt right now. The people are just fed up. And look at Iraq. They're fed up. In the 70s, when I lived in Sweden, and I used to be able to fly all over the world on Sweden's nickel, and I would get on the airplane and I would have a visa in my hand that said I was Swedish, and I would go through the customs, and those people would look at me and look at the thing and say, whatever, because I was with a bunch of boring Swedes. And so I was in Baghdad. I was in Tehran. I was in Damascus. I was in all these countries. And, in all those countries, the people were happy. They had businesses. They had livelihoods. They had homes. They had cars. You could get on the bus at 3 a.m. and not worry that, you'd be dead before you got off the bus, Same thing with Central and South America, Um, um, I don't know what doodliness is about. Yep. Money is just like it's a tool, It's like a hammer. And so, but, Jesus didn't say, money was the root of all evil. He said the love of money, right? When you love money, right? When all you can think about is how am I going to pay my bills and blah, 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 blah. Oh, look how cool my new shoes are. I'm spending all this money on, getting, food delivered, or I got servants and I got this and, sorry. Uh, 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 uh. Let's see what this does. I haven't tried this. Oh. Well, really, do we have anything to bitch about? I don't think so. Uh, boo 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 boo. Uh, yeah, well, that was fun. Really, what do we have to bitch about? You know? Not much. No. Yeah, every morning I wake up, with all the things that I have going on in my body, I have pain, stiffness, but I pray, I meditate, I move around, I'm good as new, you know. I would, life sucks, and I'd roll over and stay in bed, it would still suck, you know. But praying and thanking God's co-creation for my uh, ability to be here, you know, uh, well, that's a good thing. Hmm. Uh, but the real providence of the essence of why we're here is to forgive, you know. And that police woman who shot a guy in his own apartment. I mean, she goes into her own apartment, She expects to be on the third floor, but she drives onto the fourth floor parking deck and walks into her apartment that she thinks it's hers. But the walls are different. There's a big welcome mat that's red in front of her front door. She puts the key in there, and the latch didn't latch, so she pushes it in, and everything's different in the room. She sees a black guy sitting on the couch eating a bowl of ice cream. She pulls her gun, and within 2 seconds, shoots him in the heart. He's just getting up, going. He's got a bowl of ice cream, and bango. So she pretty much gets, charged and found guilty of murder. But she is given 10 years, which she'll probably get off in 5. And the guy who got shot, who was really well known in the neighborhood, and everyone loved him, and he was helped everyone. He was a good guy, well educated, looked like he was really going to do some amazing things for the community. And this police officer, all dressed in her, she was just one step below being she was a backup cop for a SWAT team. So she's like in her body armor and her automatic gun, and she shoots him immediately. And that's one reason why they, found her guilty of murder, but they give her 10 years. And this guy's brother, because she could have gotten 99 years, but he says, I forgive you, and I love you as a person, and I don't want anything bad to happen to you. And Your Honor, can I give this woman a hug? He does. Right? And the judge says, sure. And Ben says, this is pretty amazing, lady, And that's forgiveness, And we need to do that, all of us, you know. Uh, mm, Boy, would that be nice. Robinson, you want to take me to Hawaii? I'd love to. Jane, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. So, Jane, I loved your Shakespeare. Jane was reading Shakespeare this morning, and it was great. Jane is the queen of metaphor, that she really reads Shakespeare with more than just reading Shakespeare. Yep, true heart. Yeah. So, what we're going through as a country and a planet right now are some real rough patches. And yet, they give us the opportunity to forgive. What's going on in China, in Hong Kong, what's going on in Iraq. Like I said, I saw Iraq when, Saddam was running the place, and it was, the water worked, the buses and trains were on time, the electricity never shut off, kids were going to school. People had the full right to do whatever the heck they wanted, as long as they didn't say anything against Saddam. Say something bad about Saddam, you're gone. But the rest of your life, you could do whatever the heck you wanted to. You could be any kind of Muslim, you could be Christian, you could be anything, right? You know. So the Kurds were kind of an existential, you know, threat to Saddam. So he kept doubling down on them. And so, Jane, what's a good quote from Shakespeare about forgiveness? Pretty much everything Shakespeare says about forgiveness, but everything's a double entendre out of Billy Boy's mouth. William. I don't want to call him Billy Boy. William. It's like Lawrence of Arabia never was Larry of Arabia, Oh, I'm drinking hot water and honey. Good stuff. Good stuff. Boop, boop, boop. So, anyway, everyone has a good point in who they are. This movie coming out called The Joker. I watched some trailers about it. And again, he's another character who represents as a, a canary in the coal mine of our social culture, And yes, Portia's quality of mercy speech. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. If I had it in front of me, I'd read it. But say your best few lines, Jane. What really? That's the beauty of Shakespeare. It goes on and on and on, but he usually can sum it up in 2 or 3 sentences of a whole soliloquy. Oh. Hmm. So yeah, I'm starting out slow today. I got up with. I've been getting up early while it's still dark. About 6. And I haven't turned the clocks back yet, so 6 o'clock is still dark, right? And right about then, by 6:30, the sun is not coming up, but it's starting to light up the sky from down below in the east, so the stars aren't as bright, right? And the planets are the brightest left. The stars kind of get dulled out in the Venus and Mars and Saturn are. You can tell them that there they are. And my eyes, diabetic eyes. So my eyes are really interesting because at night, certain of the receptors are like super duper, 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 super sensitive, and the other ones are. So it's either really there or not, really there or not. That's like so. I don't drive at night because of that. Let's see. What did Jane say? Mercy is beyond this separated sway. Juliet is the east. Yep. So so this morning, and I have this really nice clamshell chair. That is my star watching. It's like pointed away from. I have a few lights, those solar lights. I have a few of those on my paths. So if I get up at night, I don't kill myself. And but this chair faces the darkness, faces the west. So I was sitting and watching the stars this morning, and it was a little, it was the coldest morning so far. It was probably 50 or 55. I had my, a couple of blankets thrown over me, and so I was watching the sunset, and I was not when I woke up, I was not feeling that good. So, I prayed. It's about 5:30 when I kind of woke up. instead of turning over and going back to sleep, which I normally could, I couldn't because the pain was down. I take vitamin D5 and B12 and cumin and turmeric, and cinnamon. These all, anti-inflammatories. Um, and, but they take an hour or so to kick in. And I prayed, and I blessed, held the vitamins in my hand, and I energized them, and then I took them, and then I put my shorts on and my shoes on and my braces on and a sweater on and this purple hat, and I kind of got up and I put on one of my $9 hoodies from Walmart's, and then threw a blanket over me and went outside. And I walked up a hill over to my star watching thing and sat there and watched the stars. And I watched them because, like I said, my eyes either really see it or don't see anything. So, but I see everything kind of move. And if you have a tracking telescope, you can tell how much they're moving. But if you're just looking at them, not so much. But because my eyes only see the really bright thing, it really could watch it track because it didn't get mixed up with the dimmer stuff. So it was kind of an interesting morning, and the pain kind of stayed there. So I walked further up the hill and started my little Bunsen burner and heated up some water, and I made some, drinking water and honey. That's my drink. I've kind of eased off on the coffee. I still have one cup, but I wait a little longer. And because I find if I drink too much coffee, it kind of interferes with, well, first of all, it moves things through my digestive tract a bit too quickly. So, so I wanted to slow that track down to a normal speed. So I don't drink as much coffee. It doesn't seem to annoy me or keep me from sleeping or get me upset or affect my emotional thing. The only real thing that I can see coffee does to me is quicken my digestive system. So anyway, oregano oil, yes, I use that too. But I have to, I have limited funds, so back in the day when I was flush, kidney troubles now, I just had a blood panel done, and my endocrinologist he's got to find a better joke. His basic joke is, I'm the healthiest dead guy he knows. So he said, no, all your organs are in great shape. Everything is working good, It's just the coffee was, you got to lay off. Yeah, coffee can affect your kidneys. This is true. But no, my kidneys are pretty much more, everything in my body is working pretty good. It's just that people don't understand. So, I weighed almost 500 pounds. When I worked for the Desperate Warrior, I was, basically I thought end times were coming, so might as well go out and have a good time. Because I tried my best for 50 years to, save mankind. And, this whole thing about, global warming and, weather changes, I was talking about this in 69, that's why I started my NGO at the UN, Alternative Technologies. That's why, and in 1981, we had a ton of conferences about this exact thing, of all the greatest, Helen Kendall Cott and you name it, they were there. right? And we did it for a number of years, about 4 or 5 years, 6 years. And it paralleled my work in the Stop Shorm campaign and the No Nukes campaign and the Iran Contra campaign. And we were bringing thousands of people from those countries. I mean, we weren't, but what we were doing was once they got to New York, that's why we're taking over, abandoned buildings. There were whole Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, Red Hook, Williamsburg, Lower East Side. Now they're all very trendy, but we um, basically took over abandoned buildings, brought them up to code. I had a master electrician's license. I got everybody an electric bill, and so they couldn't get thrown out. Then after 7 years, they owned it. That's why all these neighborhoods are so freaking trendy, is because all of these foreigners got to stay there and have a life, and their kids went to school. And we started schools, we started, gardening, New York City gardening. We had 900 gardens, and all these things we started. The city fought us tooth and nail, and to the point we won so much, and Donald Trump said, we won so much we got tired of winning. No, you don't really quite get tired of winning. And the thing about Donnie is he never really wins anything, So if you don't give up, you win. It's basically the bottom line. And if you fight for what is right, what is right is love's unconditional co-creation. That's what's right, So anyway, 50 years of being an electrician, scrolling around on my knees, staying on top of ladders, being a trapeze artist, falling, crashing, living in, my brother, why do you do all this stuff? Why look at what you live, But if I've shown you pictures of all the things I did. It was fun. It helped people. It changed my community for the better, right? And all the abandoned buildings, I mean, they were great. We turned them into really great things. So that building, I told you about, that was a nun's home, and then turned into apartments. And my upstairs neighbor was Allen Ginsberg. And then we opened up the hole between his apartment and mine, where I had a staircase to the ceiling, so he could have his way with my garden, and I could cook in his amazing kitchen. And we used to have these dinner parties. And that building became the Christador House. And that's where people like Sting and, Madonna kind of came in and gentrified the Lower East Side. That was the first real big thing. And my buddy David and I, David was the godfather of the, taking over abandoned buildings. I was just the adjutant. And Marissa was the garden angel, and Rolando was, again, another one of these guys who, Donald Trump would throw out today, but he changed, he was the, political, the person. He and I were the guys who were always mending fences and getting people to work together and not judging anybody. And, a handful of people, about 20 people, changed New York City, over a 20-year period. And most of us are, infamous, but not held famous, because rich people are the ones who get the fame because that's what they want, I always enjoyed staying in the background. There were many times I could have stepped into the spotlight. But once you do that, that's it. You kind of get stuck there. Now I'm ready, somebody wants to shine the spotlight on me, anybody of the ilk of the Hidden Hand, go read my novels, I would make a great because you're going to have to change, you know, just putting up a distraction like Donald Trump is not going to save your business plan, you know? You know better. I mean, you've been doing this for millennia. And so you need to offer. I mean, it's like FDR. FDR, he was a rich guy, came from a rich family, came from that side of the tracks. And he didn't save the poor people. What he did was he saved capitalism because he gave the poor and needy a hand up and hope. There is no hope. There is no hand up. I'm experiencing that right now. I mean, now I live a life that's enjoyable because I appreciate everything I have, every little crumb, you know, to me is a great blessing. And I find joy in everything I do. I don't complain, I don't um, bemoan, I speak out against things. I give voice to things, you know, but I don't, you know, get upset about it. Yeah, I'm probably a good, well, I'm 5'11" and a half, almost 6 feet, and I weigh 235. Right? But, you know, at my biggest gorgoness, I weighed 485 pounds. So, you know, I'm half the guy I used to be. And every time I step on, you know, a scale, I'm a pound or so lighter. So as long as I keep going down, I think it's okay. You know? So, you know, where I live in the forest, I go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Mountains, you know, all day long, you know. And so, you know, I think I get enough exercise. My legs, I used to have clamps on my legs, and I used to walk with a walker. I don't even. I still use a cane when I'm walking up and down those hills, just so I can have a third leg, so I don't fall, you know, don't trip or something. You know, but walking around on level floors, parking lots, you don't need a cane. So, yo, Lola, got your Gmail. Good to hear from you. So, oh, is Milk Glass still there in in your city of Amsterdam? You know, I was telling you that back in the early '70s, I cruised into Amsterdam and everybody was squatting. Everyone was squatting. That's why I kind of got the whole idea of squatting in New York because in Amsterdam, everyone squatted. I mean, everyone. Everyone squatted so much that the telephone company, the gas company, the electric company would hook you up. As long as you paid them a down payment and kept paying your bill, they would hook you up to utilities, even if you didn't own the building or didn't weren't paying rent or didn't have a you know. So this is a Milk Glass still there. Milk Glass was a factory, a defunct factory that was really big and it was all made out of glass. And it had a big atrium that went up 10 stories at least. And they, you know, had all this where they didn't have the cows, but they brought the milk in the gigantic tanks and they would bottle it and, you know, send it out to the city, you know. And I think it was there for so long that it was before they had lights. And so they had so much glass that during the day it was lit up. So it was a good, at least 100,000 square feet, if not more. And I would say 60 people lived there and had their businesses, their little restaurants and little nightclubs. And when the stars would come out, it was a part of town that wasn't lit up real bright, so you could see the stars through the glass. So, so, so is a milk glass still there? Because the milk glass was kind of one of those things, cultural things that changed Amsterdam into the kind of hip town it is today. So you seven who are here, our subject is about forgiveness, you know, and um, and what that's all about, you know, and it is one of the keys that make things work, and one of the things that made or gave the illusion that America worked was that within our political structure, democracy was a thing about everyone made, you know, gave up a little bit of this and that, that we came together and we compromised. And that compromise was good, not a bad thing, So, you haven't been to Amsterdam yet? Oh, baby, you gotta go. Get that boyfriend of yours to go there. So, so anyway, tomorrow, Sunday, is my day of rest. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's this morning. So anyway, it was cold this morning. The wind was blowing, and it was very obvious because Friday it was 91 degrees. So this morning it was probably in the 50s, and that was the first time it's been that. That's not cold, but all the other mornings have been on the 70. So fall is starting to creep in. So anyway, I have to prepare some more for fall and winter, and again, all of you of the hidden hand who are watching, come in, get a hold of me. I got a lot of stories to tell. I'd make I'd make a good TV network, and I would give you a way to give everyone a place where they could be part of your show. Your idea of cutting everyone off and calling them the other, not a good idea. Thinking that you can wipe out, 8/10 of the world's population, and then you can just have a good time here all yourselves. Go watch the movie Zardoz Gang, right, with Sean Connery done in the 70s. Go look at all the movies he made in the 70s. When he quit being 007 because he didn't want to get typecast, he did some pretty amazing movies like, Time Bandits, Man Who Would Be King, Zardoz. Another movie that's really, truly amazing called Everything You Know Is Wrong, and it was made in 1971 or 2 or sometime in the 70s. But it's exactly what happened in 9/11. It's like the guys who did 9/11 watched the movie and said, "Hey, let's do that." But it shows how Mossad, Saudi Arabia, and elements of the CIA and the English CIA, MI6 or 5 or whichever one it is, basically got together and decided to change the world by, kicking off these wars of regime change that would, be like a fire that would eat up the not the bourgeois, but the middle class, and throw everyone into Gitmo, MI6. It's a plan equals Amsterdam. And go look up Milk Glass. See if it's still there. The Milky Way. Anyway. So, and where I sleep, it's the best bed I've had underneath the stars, but it's still not one of those super nice beds that I used to sleep on when I was working for the Desperate Warriors. Boy, those beds were nice. They were like foam this thick, and it had air in it, and it caressed your body and kept you warmer, cooler. Rich person's bed. You know. I remember when I was a youngster and I was hanging out um, with the what brand of Catholicism are they? They starts with an M. It'll pop into my head. But anyway, they weren't like the Franciscans or the Jesuits, the Maryknols. And anyway, one guy there was a guy who was, had 7 teachers, and one was a shrink, one was, you know, anthropologist, sociologist, endocrinologist, biologist, physicist. What were the other guys? Guys who think of theology. Anyway, the shrink was always developing these measuring devices, right? And he kind of used me as a benchmark because he was the guy who said, no one thinks like you, Al, so don't worry about it. Hey, you're never going to change the way you think, and you shouldn't because you have a very interesting way of thinking. So he would just measure other people against my way of thinking. And one of the things he said was that what I really liked was comfort. That I liked a good meal, that I liked a good book. I liked, all of these things to me were like comfort food. I liked to share all of that with everyone else. It was like, not like, oh, I want to keep it all for myself. You can't have that. No. And part of my comfort food was to share. Oh, what do you think of this? Right? And so he's right, because when I worked for the Desperate Warriors, I didn't feel guilty about having a hedonist lifestyle. I knew it was going to kill me, and it did. It's just that it didn't really kill me. It's like in that movie, The Princess Bride. Well, he's almost dead. And I was given the choice to come back and finish my chores, or go home and take it easy. But then I'd have to come back and start from square one. Well, that time I said, no, I'll go back, which I did. But those 10 years of gaining 280 pounds, I had to pay for. And that's, it readjusted my bone structure. It did a number on my eyes, my ankles, my feet, but it could have been way worse. And that's what my endocrinologist keeps saying. He's amazed that for all the damage that's occurred, my body's in great shape. Same with my podiatrist and my bone doctor and my eye doctor. They also, it's amazing because, when I start every 90 days, I have this procedure done to my eyes. And the procedure that I have is something that was designed for people who have diabetic eyes. And it's not so much to cure you, but to keep you from going blind. But about 2% of the people who get the procedure done to them, it does cure their eyes, right? And I'm part of that 2%. My doctor was pretty amazed. And that's why he asked me to be a guinea pig, because he wanted to truly document. And that's how I got an endocrinologist, because, not only they have to look at everything in my body to see what's going on with my eyeballs. So,
Past Baltimore, Cecil County.
So I had to, through getting this sick, I got well. By getting this sick, I got to appreciate. Being this sick, I got to be unconditionally forgiven. You know, by being this sick, I got to be a lot more patient than I used to be. So that's where I'm at. And I think, the hidden hand could use me, I'm ready, though I live in service to love's co-creation, and you guys are diametrically opposed to that. At some point, you're going to have to learn. I mean, look what you did during, when you started the Holy Roman Empire. You took a guy who you hung up on a cross and everything that he stood for, you emulated, not emulated, but burnt to a crisp, and sent all his believers, to death at lions in front of the crowd. You basically changed your whole business plan. You perverted it, but you embraced it at the same time. Well, maybe this is time. I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I'm not even close. I'm just a human being who serves love's co-creation. And my miracles are, any miracle is a miracle. But my ability to find my car keys every day is a miracle. I don't know if it's equal to bringing the dead back to life, but it's still a miracle. So, as long as you pay me well, give me a free hand of what I want to do, and allow myself to build the cadre so they can be the chorus to sing a different tune rather than the end to life as we know it. And this is the path that Gene Roddenberry was talking about. This is the path that the guy who wrote 2001, right, was talking about. What was that guy's name? He made the movie with my favorite movie maker. So, come on, gang. What do you got to say about forgiveness? Tell me a story of your best run-in with forgiveness. Someone forgives you, or you forgave them. Let's see, what's my best? So I had a friend of mine when I was about between 16 and 19. So I was, pretty amazing at between 16 and 19. I had all these amazing friends, and they were basically trying to sculpt me into something they wanted me to be. And so they kept putting me in environments of great potential, right? And I went to prep schools that, I went to school with the richest people on earth. Go, Chris Hedgens, go read, go watch his video, listen to his stories, read the last 5 books he's written. And he and I have pretty much parallel kind of thing. We both came, my dad wasn't a minister, but socioeconomic, we both the same thing, and we both had the same kind of education, really top drawer, especially high school, between 16 and 22. Amazing education. Then we went off and had careers. That again was, but see, Chris, what he did was he once he gives a really good story about how he became a journalist. Go listen to Jimmy Dore's channel, his interview. Jimmy Dore has a nice 3-parter with Chris Hedgens, and Joe Rogan has a nice 2-parter with Chris too. So, and Chris was lucky. He found this niche that he fit in just right. Now, I found a bunch of niches that I was, fit in pretty good. And they were close enough where I could step from one to the other. And as one got a little not making me enough money or not being as much fun or not being the direction I wanted to go in, I could step into the other one, I was a disco king, lighting designer, master electrician, working at national laboratories as a, rocket scientist, painter, theater, healer, businessman. But I never did any of those longer than 5 or 6 years. at a stretch. Then I would do something totally different. And the next one would be just as successful. And I could, I always made really good money at everything I did. This is the longest stretch since, when I died to play spaghetti in 2014. Between then and now, this little point is my little research point of understanding the social inequities of our structure. Before I understood them scholarly. This time around, since 2014 and now, I am experiencing. And still, I'm from my skill of navigating. I haven't been, you know, people. How can you live out in the middle of the woods? You're a homeless guy. Well, no. Homeless people go to San Francisco, go to Seattle, go to LA. Go see how homeless people live there. I live out in the middle of God's country. I can wake up in the morning and look at the stars and hear, the singing of the spheres. I'm surrounded by all kind of, the school used to be this way. It used to be just chock a block with the life of love's co-creation. Every animal, all our relations were there in that nice little 100-acre hill. And then Inga died, and that took a chunk of the energy out of the place. And then I died, I got sick, I got stuck there. I had to sell out to John Boy. And, go look at John's latest, I live in my cool house, Now, I don't live in my cool house. I live in the woods. That's not mine. It's God's, So all the animals sing to me, and are really, really charitable to me. Nobody is Italian. There's lions, tigers, and bears right there. And I'm respectful of them. They're respectful of me. I leave them little treats. They leave me safe. And I had my little visitation of deer, but it's been really, I live in a place surrounding, everybody deer hunting season opened up last week. And I have to wear a super bright orange suit, because I'm living in the woods. See, I'm moving. If I wasn't distinguishable, and everyone knows I live out there, so they're not going to shoot in my direction. So, but I had breakfast with a friend of mine, and he had his kids, and they were going out hunting. And I said, so, haven't you been? He said, oh, it's been too hot. Everybody's like hanging low. He's right. All the animals are like, because it hasn't rained since July 10th. So our forests are parched. This is a rainforest, The lake is low, low, low. It's unbelievable. I was talking to a guy who used to own this place, and he's been here his whole friggin' life, 90-something years. And he's, so is this the lowest it's ever been? Oh, no, it's been lower than this before, but this is one of the driest times it's ever been. So, anyway, where I am, I'm in this place where the clouds, you heard of Smoky Mountains, that's where I'm in. And I'm like, Appalachian's over here, the Smokies over here, and I'm like in between. And so the weather does this interesting little hula dance. And so up until 2 or 3 weeks ago, since I went away and then came back, which is about 2 weeks, what would happen in the hula dance, there'd be enough moisture squeezed out of the two hula dancing clouds I'd wake up and everything would be moist. The grass, the leaves, so the trees and everything were alive more than, if I drove up over other of the Sawtooth Mountains towards Boone or towards Johnson City or towards Bristol, things got parched, toastier and toastier. If I drove up towards West Virginia on 421, there is a lake up there, and that I used to camp up there 20 years ago, and it was beautiful. And it has, I wrote about it, and you go to xratted.blogspot.com. One of my cuts is a story about, where I died in a plate of spaghetti, the 2 years that I lived on basically onions and oatmeal. And then in 2012, the year before I died, was when I knew, I knew something was wrong, but I ignored it. I was making really good money with the desperate lawyers. I was living the hedonist life. And I was like, screw it. I'm just going to double down. And I did. And that's why I died in a plate of spaghetti, 2 years later in Miami. So, but in that story, it tells about, the goat camp and all the characters of the Rainbow Gathering and what it is to be in a Rainbow Gathering and what was going on at that one. So if you want to know about 2012 and the Rainbow Gathering right on the border of West Virginia, go read that one. Anyway, Stanley Kubrick. Thank you, Robinson. And who's the person who wrote the book 2001? Who did the movie? Stanley Kubrick and that guy made the movie. What was his name? One of the great science fiction writers of that time. And he was a scientist. He worked on the UNIVAC, and he had worked in England at Bletchley Park, and he knew the guy who broke the code, who basically wrote two amazing books in 1947. And they Cumberbund made a movie about him. He got arrested for being gay. They didn't like it because he was so far ahead of his time. But they basically after they used him, they just wanted him out of the way. And that's pretty much what happens to most really people who are ahead of their time. Either they are very good at just laying low and not care, just enjoying things, or they fight City Hall and they get rolled over. So anyway, so I'm a guy who's learned not to fight City Hall, but to use City Hall, to go over City Hall, underneath the City Hall, but not to fight it. Can't fight City Hall. Ian Fleming. No, he wrote the 007 movies. Science fiction. Who wrote 2001? Who's the guy who wrote 2001? And he wrote a bunch of other great books too. Has anyone read Handmaid's Tale? The lady who wrote that, she wrote a ton of other good books. She was really good. I mean, that's why I like to read. Books are great. That's why I write. Someday maybe people will read my books. And anyone can get a hold of them at xratted.blogspot.com. And you can get a hold of me at thedudeawake@gmail. So it's been 1 hour and 3 minutes. There's 6 of you here. I'm going to go back. It's warmed up enough. I'm going to go lie in my hammock and relax. And then as soon as the sun gets past where my hammock is, I'll get up and start parsing through my stuff. I plan to parse through everything within the next 2 weeks. And then I expect one of you to come and get me, and we're going to go to Hawaii or Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico could really use us. They really need. I had a couple of friends tell me that they haven't even gotten close over that hurricane. And that's part of America, you know. They are brothers and sisters, Americans, right? We can go there without a passport. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you. I don't think tomorrow, like I said, day of rest. Monday, maybe Tuesday. I'm like getting close to not having enough money to do anything. So, my last $20 bill. So I came here and had a little lunch. I had a veggie plate. That's what I have here, a veggie plate. So, okay, gang, I love you all. I'll see you soon. Do, 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 do. Ian Fleming. I liked Ian Fleming a lot because he tried to tell it like it was. He gave a good little storyline. Okay, 105. So when it hits 106.06, I'm going to hit the button. So remember to give me a thumbs up, give me some feedback, um, you know, get people to subscribe, all the rest. I love you all. Here we go. We're getting up there. 106, 02, 3, 4. There we go. 5.